All right, and here we come to some little things we can also educate people. I'm going to start with one that's not up here. I have a lady, I still play Thursday nights when I'm at home. And there's a lady who is pretty crotchety. She can kind of get a little snarly. So I learned something about 5 years ago when I had massive back problems. I had to have a herniated disc operated on. I couldn't walk barely for a year. I mean, it's something you learn, that pain starts to wear. And you have a lot of older players that might be in pain. And one day, a couple players came to me, oh, she's really being the worst today. She is crotchety times 7. So when I got to talk to her privately, I said, what's going on? She said, oh, I just really, really hurt today. I said, I get it. I get it. Do your best. You know, try not to take it out on the other players. But then I went back and talked to the other players and said, here's what's going on. She's in a lot of pain today. They went, oh, I get it. Right? That's part of being a community. That's part of saying, Ravel's not in a good place today. Whoops. I love this woman, by the way. She's my buddy. She's not in a good place today. Let's be patient with her. Sometimes that's what we have to do in our community. All right? So you headed off the pass. I learned this one from a dear sweet one of those ladies with gloves and hat, right? Could we play the next board? I need to sneak off to get to the restroom. That's her way of saying, I don't want to hear you bicker. I don't want to hear the lesson. Oh, can we just play the next board real quickly? I got to go to the restroom. And you know what? These nasty old men, how do you argue with that? You can't. I don't care about your bladder problems. No. No. All right, I'll take care of you. I'll take care of you. Yeah, we'll play the next board. You know, it's heading it off at the pass. And you can teach that to people. Of course, everybody will be in the restroom every round. Could you save it until the round is over? Again, this is a good one with lessons. All right? Thanks so much. Just save the lesson until we're done with both boards or 3 boards or 4 boards or 5 boards or whatever the round is. Just save it. I want to play the next board. Then you don't have people calling all the time. Then the one I shared earlier, sometimes if you just very quietly say, please stop. As a player, you've made it clear that something is making you uncomfortable, unhappy, and you're not wanting to listen to it. And you have that power then to say, please stop. I've learned a lot, by the way. I have a couple of Russians who play at the club. And ACBL policy says basically foreign language is okay. But once the cards come out for the new board, foreign language stops. But all talking should stop, right? Unless it's alert or 15 to 17 or that's Liebensaal or whatever, all of that talking should stop. But I always thought they were angry, you know, and some of it is anger. I'm not stupid. I can pick up on some of the anger. But I was riding in an elevator at the last NABC in Providence, and these 4 Russians got on the elevator with me, and were speaking very thick Russian. And then all 4 went, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. They're not angry at each other. The language sounds angry. And you know, there's some truth to that. There is some truth to, it's just the accent and the guttural quality of it and the passion of it and so on that all sounds angry to me. I misread it. I went back now to the club, and when the Russians speak to you, I just kind of go, oh, they're just complimenting you. I don't care, you know? What do I know? All right, here we go. Don't you hate it when they come up 3 rounds later or after the game or before the next game and say, you know, old so-and-so was a horse's patoot all day. He was screaming at his partner. Here's where we have to think about the good of the club. Here's how we think about how we address it in the club. Even in a tournament setting, I'm going to bring up a couple of old wives' tales here, okay? Even in a tournament setting, a player will come to Lynn or Rick and say, you know, I should have called you. And you're like, yes, you should have, you know. But they'll say, a couple rounds ago, we were sitting at George, I pick on George and Martha a lot, okay? George's table, and George was screaming at Martha about how badly she bit a hand, and it really made us unhappy and uncomfortable. All right. Do you know that there's nothing in the law or the zero tolerance penalty policies, et cetera, that says we're doing puppy training? You don't have to rub their nose in it when it happens. There's nothing to prevent you from going back 3 rounds later and saying, I'm going to address this. I'm going to deal with this and possibly penalize it. It's harder for a director always to determine the facts. It's harder sometimes to, I mean, if it's a day later, you're not given penalties. But you know, sometimes the players aren't asking you to give a penalty. They're asking you to address a situation or a person's behavior. They're not asking that it go up on the penalty board. But they don't want to be ignored either. This actually, I gave this presentation in Providence. And a couple days later, this woman came up to me just irate. She said, I listened to your presentation, and this guy was a horse's patoot, and I didn't say anything at the time, but 3 rounds later, I did talk to the director, and she said she wouldn't do anything. I'm like, okay. Then the director came to me and said, I can't believe you said that. Okay, here's how we're going to sort it out. First of all, the director did exactly what I would have done. She did address it. She found that pair that was ugly later on and talked to him and said, you know what, I've gotten a complaint that you were beating up your partner during one of the rounds earlier. Is this happening? The guy said, well, yeah, he was really stupid. I mean, right? And you said, okay. Don't do that. Cut it out. Now, she actually did not give a penalty, and that's her judgment, okay? But she did address it. What she didn't do is go back to the player who complained and said, I've spoken with him. Thank you for letting me know. That's enough sometimes for these delayed kind of complaints. The last thing I think the players want to hear is a director say, well, you didn't call me at the time, so I can't do anything. And I know that there are all kinds of directors who use that excuse. Why? Because they don't want to deal with it. They're avoiders. Chicken, yeah. You can consider forming a committee. I never did. You know, one of the things I'll talk about tomorrow, I tried appeals committees at my club twice. And I said, I ain't doing this no more. I had plenty of good players who would serve, but they'd all say to me, I got a hair appointment, I got a dentist appointment, I got to get home, I want to beat traffic. I don't want to hang around for an hour to be on an appeals committee. What I did was I had several people on speed dial. I'd call tournament directors, other directors, expert players and say, consult with me. So now when I went back to the table to deliver one of those rulings that might be appealed, I'd say, there is no appeal, but this is what I did. I talked with this director, who they had respect for. I talked with this player, who they had respect for. I did do my due diligence. And you know what? They didn't care about the appeals so much, knowing that I'd done my job. All right? Well, the same is true with conduct and ethics committees. Nobody knows what they're going to do. And you put them in very, very difficult and awkward situations because you've created a community where everybody knows each other and everybody plays and gets along and so on and so forth. And now one of those people has to go in front of 5 friends, right, to deal with a major conduct and ethics issue. I dealt with them. I was a club owner. I was a club manager. I made the decisions. I took the heat. Nobody else had to take any heat. So I'm not a big committee fan. If it works for you, it works for you. One of the things you can do is talk to the offenders after the game if it's one of those complaints that's made away from the table. It's very simple to say, I need to talk to you for a few minutes after the game. Can you stick around? And they might say, no, I can't. And I said, I'm going to call you later. We need to talk. Or come in early tomorrow. We need to talk. And don't drop it. But you can. Like I talked to this nice lady with the paint. Talk to her privately and said, what's going on? People are complaining that you're being kind of ugly at the table. What's going on? A private conversation allows that player to save some face, right? And they don't feel they're being tackled, attacked, or penalized in front of other people. And this may work well for you in certain situations. Okay, your judgment. But to avoid it, because you're a chicken, doesn't work. I promise you the behavior will get worse and continue if you don't address it. Consider the financial ramifications. I believe that more directors are handcuffed by this concept. The fear that if they penalize somebody, they won't play at their club anymore. So I'm going to tell you a little story early. I had one of those guys in my club. Brilliant man. Brilliant. Well-read. I enjoyed sitting and talking to him about the stock market, politics, you name it. The minute the first board hit the table, he became a different person. And you know, I mean, I'm describing somebody in your club. It's like all of a sudden when competition, that switch of competition gets flipped in their head, you go, who the heck is this person? Right? They just become this snarling, megalomaniac, narcissistic, God-complex person who disrupts everybody. Well, I had him. So I warned him. This was early in my ownership of the club. I warned him. I warned him. I talked to him privately. I said, don't do that. So one day, there's this really nice pair at his club, at his table, and he makes a claim. And this dear, sweet little lady says, could you play it out, please? Now, that's against the laws. Once claim is made, play ceases. Okay? And you call the director. No. He just started screaming at her. We don't play it out anymore. And his arms were sawing. The voice was carrying through the entire room. I went to the table and I said, you're done. Goodbye. Okay? That's totally unacceptable. You're done for the day. Goodbye. He wouldn't leave. So now I had to go to the east-west pair that was supposed to go to this table and say, do not go to that table. Go to the kitchen. I went to the table and I said, you don't understand. This is my club. This is my business. You are no longer welcome here. Please leave. He refused to leave. I said, I am calling the police. And I went to the phone and I picked up the phone and I dialed 911. And then he got up and left. Now I have to tell you, this guy played at my club 8 times a week. 5 daytimes, 3 evenings. At that point, it was $8 a head. That's $64 a week. Plus his partner, $128 a week. It's $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. Whoa, right? That's a lot of money. And I sat and wrote a letter and said, I'm borrowing you for a month, sent the copy to ACBL. When you come back, please understand, there are no more warnings. If it happens again, you're out again. And it'll be 6 months. But you're welcome to come back, but I expect you to turn over a new leaf. He didn't come back. 6 months later, he sent me a letter, an email. Said, if you'll apologize and refund my $8, I'll come back. By the way, at this point, and he was doing the math too, I've cost you $2,500 in card fees. Okay. I just wrote back and said, no, the terms are very clear in the letter. You're welcome to come back anytime you wish. I am not apologizing. What I did was right. And no, you're not getting a refund. All right, so a year goes by. Get another email. If you'll apologize and refund my $8, I'll come back. By the way, I've cost you $5,000. Well, now I took the gloves off. And I wrote back to him and I said, you have to understand something. My Wednesday game, which was 10 tables, when you were playing here, is now 13 tables. Okay? My Friday game, which was 20 tables, is now 24 tables. My Saturday game, which was 20 tables, is now 25 tables. And by the way, the club that you're playing in, that's where I got all those additional tables. And you're welcome to come back, but when you come back, please come back with a new attitude. You know, I had more people walking into my club saying, I cannot play in that game anymore. That man is insane. It's not fun. And the other club managers were too scared to kick him out. And they paid their price, and I gained. I wanted to write in there and save me thousands in therapy bills, but I thought, nah, don't go there. You know, I mean, it is something people don't think about, is that the ramifications are, if you pick up the phone and call someone who used to play in your club and say, we miss you. What can we do to get you back in the club? How many times are you going to hear, it wasn't fun, it wasn't friendly, I had a bad time, so-and-so chased me out. You'll hear a specific name mentioned. Well, I'd rather have this person 3 times a week than this person 8 times a week because they're good for the club. You have to address that. All right. Interesting thing. What's the name of your club?
Vero Beach Bridge Center.
The Vero Beach Bridge Center. Does anybody say they're playing at that game? Probably some do. But you know what? A lot of people say, I'm playing in Martha's game. They recognize who directs the game. And when I would have to substitute for somebody, they say, oh, good, he's here today. They're playing in your game. They'll put your name on the game. They're playing in Millie's game. I swear to you, they don't want to say that whole long name of the Bridge Club and all that stuff. I'm playing in Martha's game. I'm playing in Millie's game. I'm playing in Joan's game. I'm playing in Jane's game. You're recognized as the owner of that game, even if you don't own it. You're given a sort of honorary ownership of that game, and your reputation matters. Your reputation of solving the tough problems matters. Going back to customer service, how it relates. The basic core of good customer service is forming a positive relationship with your bridge players. A relationship in which each player feels that he may invest with enthusiasm and trust of positive outcomes. I know that Joe will solve the problems, and he won't scream at people, and he won't get ego-driven in his rulings, that he'll make me laugh. If I go play in Lynn's game tomorrow, I know that sometime during the day I'm going to laugh. I'm going to have a good time. I know it because that's the kind of game she runs. People have a good time. I trust when I go there. It will start on time. People will be friendly. That will get done pretty close to 3:30 every time they run that game, and I can make an appointment for 4 o'clock. I trust. But I also trust that Lynn is strong enough, or Joe, or Martha, or anybody is strong enough to deal with whatever problem comes up. The bridge mates just died. The director who goes out on the floor and says, do you remember what these are? These are called pickup slips, right? Is the director we trust for a positive outcome. The director who screams at the computer and hits the computer and rants and raves and has to go out and chain smoke and comes back in and says, I don't know what to do, go home, right? You don't come back and play, right? Trust. Trust that problems will be solved. Trust that zero tolerance will not be avoided is another issue. Okay. This is a little public service announcement, aside, okay? You're going to argue with me. That's okay. It's my belief. Get rid of the, want to venture a guess? Bad actors, sure, okay. This is really a public service announcement. Dan's opinion. Whether it's the pieces of paper in the board or the percentage function on the bridge mates. All right? I have to tell you, I mean, over 10 years ago, the first 2 years I owned my club, we're talking 12 years ago, the first couple of years, I sort of slowly weaned my players from the Travelers. I had a few, oh, I miss the Travelers, I love the Travelers, you know, yeah, okay. I weaned them. I said, oh, let's close the game down. You know, we can play more. I finally got rid of them, okay? I was excited. That month, Audrey Grant was still writing a regular column for the Bridge Bulletin, wrote in her column, she says, I just love the Travelers. The next day, I had 12 people in my club with a copy of the article, placing it on my desk, going, Audrey Grant said. All right, so I'll put them back out for some games. And I mean, I was Mr. Mean Guy. I said one word, just one word, and they'll all go away forever. Because nobody seems to be able to open those things or look at it on the bridge mate without opening their mouth. And somebody's feelings get hurt. Oh, look, a top board for us. Well, what do you think that means for them, right? Or vice the other side. You punch verify as an East-West member and you go, oh, we got a bad board. We have a bottom board. Does that mean I did something wrong? No, of course not. It means you did something wrong. I can interpret what those meanings are. That's what it means. We got a bad board. You know, it's your fault. Oh, and it even gets better with, you know, some people put in the opening lead and then have the Traveler function. Oh, well, I guess the Queen of Clubs wasn't such a good lead, eh? You know, it's like the Travelers are just this big crowbar towards setting up adversarial, negative, critical situations. That's what they do. I mean, I will say this. When I still owned my club, I kept them for the novice games because I wanted them to see that 3 diamonds was a lousy contract and that 3 no trump was where they wanted to be. And it did help some. And they weren't as critical of each other. They would open it and go, oh, 3 no trump. We should be in 3 no, you know, or they bid 6 spades. I wonder how they got there. And it wasn't as much the criticism of partners. So for some of the novice games, I would keep them. But even then, now that we have hand records, and you put the hand records on your website, and they can go and look, and then you can put the Traveler function, right, where you can see what everybody bid and all that stuff. It's like, why not use that as your teaching tool rather than this little crowbar that sits on the table that says, I'm going to stick that inside your stomach and lift. You know, I have a way to criticize you. You know, that's what it becomes. It also becomes very discouraging. All right? It also, I can argue it goes against ACBL law. You're not supposed to know how you're doing. other than by your own judgment. So now we get to, let's say you're playing 13 tables, 13 rounds. You get to, round 10, and there's enough valid results there to see how you're doing. You say, oh, we got an 80% on that board. Oh, we got a top board on that one. Oh, and now you're saying, well, yeah, based on what I think the earlier boards are and what they are now, what we need to do is have a couple of really good boards in the last round. And so people are making choices based on information they're really not supposed to have. Okay? That's only available in barometer pairs, where everybody has the same information at the same time. So I can argue. You really shouldn't have them on. I don't win this argument. I mean, there are clubs that are firmly ensconced in the travelers are there on the bridge mates, or the travelers are there on the boards. I can't make you not. I can encourage you that it is a good zero tolerance issue. Yes?
What is the law that it's against?
It's, help me out here. Is it law 40?
44C.
40. It's not 44. I'm getting the law book. I have a law book with me. Oh, it's underneath here. I can't get it out. It's in there.
Okay.
It's in there. It's like it goes with the idea you're not allowed to have memory aids, right? It's actually, I think it's law 16. It's unauthorized and authorized information. Okay? So anyway, it's there. Says you're not allowed to have, that's why you're not supposed to compare boards when you go to the next table. You're not supposed to say, what'd you all do on board 16? Because you got insider information, right? You're not supposed to know these things. Plus, that opens the other can of, yes?
It's
40C3. 40C3, thank you.
And then they'll say, well, we already played that.
I know.
It's okay if you tell us.
All right. So, just during the break, this lady came. Sometimes we just need to remind them it's just a game. And he said, yeah, you're right. It's just a game. Yeah, sure. And how lucky are we at convincing them of that? Not very good. Because I think this is more the philosophy these people have. It's just a game, yeah, and you're just wrong. So now we're going to spend the next 45 minutes talking about, by the way, how many of you have undergraduate degrees in psychology? All right, there's one. All right, good. Graduate degrees in counseling? There, hey. All right, what we have is one person qualified to be a director. Because I swear, it would be helpful, would it not? To have some background in psychology and social work and, and I don't know, police academy. Did you go to the police academy?
How about the Dale Carnegie Club?
There you go. All right, so this is what we're going to go over. The psychology of overcompetitive. I'm kidding, of course. I don't even begin to understand. I don't begin to understand how this super nice person turns into a snarling beast when you're there to take a ruling or they're criticizing their partner. I mean, it's just this switch is flipped. Now, I had one of those. By the way, I inherited this guy from y'all. All right, he used to live in Florida. And then he found his way to Atlanta in my club. But I really liked the guy. I just had to do sort of like a weekly, at a minimum, monthly refresher course with him. It's like, Harold? By the way, he's one of my favorite people.
I know, me too.
I mean, this is a guy who is brilliant. He just gets snarly at the table. And I would do regular doses of, if you chase one player from my club, if you don't start being nice, whatever, I constant remind, and he could do it. He could do it. But I had to work at it. I had to remind him, it's just a game. That's hard. You knew who I am. I knew you would. Does that kind of look like him too, doesn't it? So I'm looking at this. Is that a player or is that a director? Yeah, could be. Understanding and controlling anger. We're going to talk through this a little bit. The causes of anger, making our customers angry, what makes us angry, how do we manage it, and how do we deal with it. So I'm going to ask you a question. Oh, yeah, I like her. All right, I'm going to ask you as a player, what makes you angry as a player? All right, good. Slow play. Gloating. Teaching. I'm not writing that one down.
Somebody staring at you.
All right, staring, sure.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
All right. Arguing. How about I ask you, what makes you angry as a player that a director does? You're going to play in the tournament this week, some of you, okay? You call the director. When the director leaves, you say, I'm not happy. What is it that directors do that make you angry? Yes?
I'd say when somebody's, you've already called the director, and now somebody's obviously being rude, they keep interrupting, and the director fails to take charge.
All right. Director. Let's say just, not in control. Let's put it that way and recognize it's a bigger topic. What else? Yes?
When the director makes you feel like an idiot.
Ah, director. Condescending. Ah. By the way, that one I would put up here as well as when other players are condescending to you. All right? So, yes, the director's putting you down, belittling what you thought was necessary to call the director. Like, oh, please, right? Okay, good. Somebody else? Yes? Okay, speed. Doesn't take the time to spend with you. Yes?
Well, that's what I meant, really.
In a hurry.
Putting you out. Director is being put out.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't believe you made me get out of my chair. I had a really good game of solitaire going, and I have to come to your table. Yes. Okay. That's an interesting one. That's going to come up in tomorrow's thing. Director, please. Yes, how can I help you? I'm north. And east is touching the boards. I'll tell you what, I got that one so often. When I first signed on for my new job, I thought, I got to find it. I hunted top to bottom through the rules, the laws, duplicate decisions, conditions of contest, and you know what? There's one law that mentions anything. And it's really funny when you read them, the law, because it basically says the only thing about control of boards is that North is responsible for moving the boards to the next lower table unless otherwise instructed by the director. And that's the one thing that they always abdicate on. Right? Would you move the boards for me? Director, could you take the boards over there for us? It's like you're charged with one thing to do, and that is move them at the end of the round, and you don't want to do that. But you want to have, their coffee cup is on my corner of the table. This is the kind of stuff that it's like, oh my God, I don't get paid enough to deal with squabbles like that. But guess what? You get to. Yes?
I get really frustrated, especially in tournament conditions, when you call and the directors are not out in the field. They're cooping.
It happens in clubs, too.
I know, but
All right, but I could not agree with you more. Do you know, I'm going to share with you, because it's not a private thing. We are putting a huge focus on our tournament directors going through customer service training that is designed specifically for our situations. And everybody is going to say the same thing. But ours is a unique business. All right? It is. Because we're a little bit traffic cops. I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm going to have to give you a ticket. You know, right? And yet we're also like the front desk at a hotel. Welcome. I have an entry for you. Have a great time. If you need anything, let me know. Right? I mean, and then, you know, again, and then 2 minutes later with the traffic cop saying, move it along, next round, move it along, next round, right? And it's like, it's a unique situation. But we don't value our customers enough. That is a given. All right? It is something our CEO believes very strongly, is that we can improve all of Bridge by being better customer service representatives. One of those things, remember what I said way back when I was dealing with customer service, is availability. It's being available and ready. Sometimes, I've directed in the club, I've directed in small tournaments where I'm a one-man show. Right? You got 20, 30 tables, you're a one-man show. And it's like, you're there, and another director. You're next, right? At least it's like the waitress. When you go to a restaurant that's really busy, and the waitress walks by 27 times, right? And says nothing. Versus the waitress that walks by and goes, I'm really busy at this very minute. I know you're here. I'll get you some water. I'll get you menus. I'll be back as soon as I can. It's amazing how differently you feel at that table when you are paid attention to. Availability. I mean, sometimes as directors we go, take a number, because we got 4 rulings at once. I've gone all day without a ruling, and in the last round when I need to get everything out, I got 4 rulings. And they're all those gray rulings with, I gotta go, you know, and you go, couldn't do that in round 1, eh? Availability is very critical. Anything else?
Yes, just as a player, not against the director.
Okay.
But facial expressions. I like, and then one person said, well, I looked at my partner, I knew she didn't like this. Because they're making.
Of course, now we're wandering into laws, you know, unauthorized information. I played one time where I was the dummy, and I'm not supposed to say anything, but I couldn't help myself, you know. Punish me. It's like, made the opening lead, and the partner snorted. You know, and it's like, whoa. You know, in total anger, could not believe this lead. Of course, this woman had bid hearts like 4 times in the auction, and this one led a diamond. You know, so, but nonetheless. All right. All right, so you come up with a pretty good list. We don't like to be proven wrong. That's one thing. That sometimes sets people off. Making 4, no, you're down 1. Making 4, no, you're down 1. And then to be proven wrong, oh, I am down 1, can make people angry because of the dynamics of the situation. Or the director who says, yep, I'd be happy to show you in the book. And they go, oh, right. It can set off some anger. How we deal with correcting a player is important. For others to get away with breaking the rules. One of the things drove me nuts when I opened my club is I'd have people come in on Wednesday and say, well, I was playing over in Bill's game on Monday, and he made this ruling. And I'm like, well, you get what you pay for. And I mean, I got to where I was kind of blunt. It's like, if you have problems with Bill's ruling, you talk to Bill. I make my rulings in my building, and I try to get them right. Bill doesn't have the same capacity to make those rulings that I do. But you can't come to my club and complain about Bill's rulings, because I can't do anything about Bill's rulings. It also has to do with that concept of, well, you didn't penalize them yesterday, all right, but now you're penalizing me today. That's that consistency issue. Patronizing, condescension, talking down to. Sarcasm. Ooh. If I could go back in my life, I would love to find the little dial on my sarcasm. It has gotten me in trouble a few times, and I've learned in the last couple of years, since I do so much through email, there is no sarcasm meter on emails. Everything is read as if it were true. You can even write sarcasm in parentheses after something, and people won't read it as sarcasm. It's not a good director tool. I know that there's about 0.01% of people that I can get away with it because I'm friends with them and they know me. And so I can sort of roll my eyes and do sort of a sarcastic ruling at their table. But it doesn't work as a tool. And if you're using it, try not to. Say again?
They like humor, though.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. My favorite ruling to give is the 5 options ruling. You can accept the lead, become dummy. I'm going to choose that one, all right? So they put their hand down. I say, you know, that is the one players most often choose when their partners have overbid. Right? And it's like, people laugh just like this, and I get to leave the table. They're laughing. They're like, I've done my job, right? Or I'll get the, I did not overbid. You know, I mean, it doesn't hurt. You know, one of our retired directors used to make the comment, if it was a man and a woman, right? And the man said, no, I'll play the hand. He says, well, no self-respecting man would ever allow a woman to play the hand, right? Now, you had to be careful, right? But humor is very important. It's different. Humor is very different from sarcasm. Sarcasm is a form of humor if it works, but it backfires more often than not. All right. And then the one that's really relative to zero tolerance is to see that nothing is done. That's frustrating. Where you go to a director and say, they were swearing at each other at the table. Oh, okay. All right. And then nothing's done. That makes me angry. That really makes me angry. All right, so now we're going to try a different one. What makes you angry as a director? Oh, wait, slow down. I need another 3 boards. I heard whining. Late. Yeah, fix things. Outside your control. Slow play. Yes, sir. Impatience. Rudeness. Ignoring. Good. Ignoring authority. That's. Let me get that right.
Moving before the round has been called.
Uh-huh.
Getting up and moving around.
Or saying, can we move yet? Is it time? Is it time?
Oh, what you're saying is sarcasm makes you angry the other direction, too.
Demanding you assess a penalty.
Yeah, okay. Demanding penalties. Uh-huh. Loud discussions. You guys are really good at this list. You know what makes you angry. We all have buttons. We all do. We all have buttons. I have a particular button. When a man abuses a woman, it sets something off on me really, really bad. And it goes back to years ago doing a very intense study of domestic violence and the inequality of power. And when I see men bullying women, it's a button for me. I get angry. And I have to find ways to deal with it more appropriately because I want to just punch his lights out. It's a thing with me. No, physical violence just doesn't solve much. Yes?
We had a situation like that with a guy who just treated his wife like she was their, I mean, just criticized. And then players started to complain. So we sent him an email and said, we would appreciate that this would stop and we'll welcome you back. Never saw him.
And you don't miss him.
But he treated her.
You don't miss him. I hate having to repeat myself, right? Where are the restrooms? Out here to the left, down the hall, just through the double doors, take a left. Where? Out the door, to your left. Where? And you tell them again. At which point, they come over to another one of the directors and say, where are the restrooms? Right? And it's like, you're not listening to me. Now, it also can be the ruling itself. A feeling I'm not being listened to, okay? Can be very frustrating to have to repeat. Now, I don't mind repeating a ruling because it's a difficult ruling. There's a density to it. It's a novice hearing the 5 options for the first time, at which point they go, right? You say, take a deep breath. I'm going to go through them again for you. And I have a great way to go through them the second time, which is to just focus on the verbs. You can accept and become the dummy. You can accept that lead and play the hand. You can prohibit, require, or allow anything. You got it basically down to 5 words, right? And they hear it that way. I may have to go back and do it again. I don't mind that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you start to give the ruling and they're looking at the bar, I just don't know what to do, right? They're talking and it's like, I can't deliver a ruling if you're not going to listen, right? I got to repeat myself and repeat myself and repeat myself. That's one of my buttons, big time. It was easy for me to do this list too because I have buttons. You said this one, to be doubted less than politely. You don't know what you're doing, right? That's the most idiotic ruling I've ever heard, okay? It's impolite. I don't mind somebody saying, can you check on that? Can we talk about it? Maybe you didn't hear the facts totally, and maybe could I present the facts again? I mean, we can do this as civilized human beings, or you can attack me, and that makes me angry, and I have to deal with that. To be dismissed, oh, just go away. Oh, have you ever had that happen at the table? It's like you're trying to deliver a ruling, it's like, oh, never mind, go away. Yeah. I hate that. I'm like a human being, a player or a director. I hate being told I'm wrong. It can make me angry. I have to deal with that. Because you know what? Sometimes I am wrong. So I have to deal. I have to learn my own buttons. To be compared to another director unfavorably, all right? It's like I am not Rick. He's better than I am. And sarcasm. Doesn't work that way either. Your list was very comprehensive, by the way.